What favors other than the critical damage floor would I get out of the Ex-borg store? Well, on Tuesday, when the event starts again, I would take a look at the list and take a look there. Give me a second here, and we'll look at it right now. I don't remember the names of any of them. To be honest, my brain has enough information in it already that learning the names of certain things like that, not overly important to me. So I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. I'd be like, oh yeah, get the Zindi modifier 23. And it's like, well, what the hell are you talking about? That's not a thing. All right, so factions. Ex-borg store. Well, none of this stuff is matter. So we're talking about the favors down here. So particle beam delay, of course, people should have already gotten that one. Critical damage floor, very helpful to get, but expensive. It's by far the most expensive one on the list. Nearly 2.5 times what all the other ones cost. A lot of these, the first level of some of them, you can get with the Ex-borg credits. You don't have the regular ones, the old ones. So that's why I picked up a lot of them on the first levels of them. Not so much because they're really good, just so much because they were available and I was competing in the event. And I had an abundance of those credits. So I was like, well, let's just take the ones we can have there. The loot drop one is really good because that's obviously going to help with your grinding. So the escalation one, moving this one up as much as you can. It's going to cut down on your grinding, might help you do double pulls of things, which might then snowball into being able to get a lot of these other ones faster. So if you max this one out, which I don't even know if you can, because I'm sure at some point in time this is going to switch to rares and epics. But obviously, the more points you can get out of here, the more loot you're getting, the more this is increasing the base loot, which then your modifiers, things like your Pilum, 5 of 11, Picard, Data, the Doctor, are then going to have a larger number to multiply. So this is a really strong one that's going to basically have that domino effect. That's going to make you more likely to either consistently every day get it because you'll just have extra currency, or occasionally get those double pulls pretty easily, or consistently, which will then get you more credits to get everything else. So this is probably one to target pretty high up on the list here. There are also a couple, obviously you got some ones getting more broken ship parts. If you're having issues with farming, like that could be a thing to get. But I also feel like down here, we've got these choice material construction ones. So this one is lowering the cost of buildings slightly. Now there's a diminishing returns on this one, but buildings cost ridiculous amounts of materials. So anything you can do to reduce that always helps. The other one here is lowering par steel costs, which if you find yourself in a spot where you don't have quite the amount of par steel that you need, that could be something else to work on too. Um, Cost efficiency down here for ship parts that you're spending for components is also a big one too, because it's one of those other limiting factors that we see all the time. Sometimes you have the materials, more often than not you don't have the ship parts to level things up. So getting some of these efficiencies down here can also be incredibly helpful. And again, the first level only require the old currency, so even just knocking that out and getting an extra 25% reduction does come in handy. And then if you can move it up, anything additional. This will also help you a little bit more. Now, you are having, again, that diminishing returns where you're competing against your existing research or the ship efficiency primes that use the dolomite. Now, they're going to be less effective if you're doing stuff here, so you are, you know, sort of competing against yourself in that area, I think would be the thing to say. But anything you can do to make anything cheaper in this game, I say go for it. So um, probably start with, after you get particle beam, after you get critical floor, a level or two. or even if maybe even just if you're still killing stuff and you're still doing okay, it might even skip critical floor and just work on Zindi escalation and circle back to this one later because of how expensive it is. You're talking about 3,100 here, or you could get, if you could get Zindi escalation 1 to 2 levels versus this 3,100, like this could actually help you more on a daily basis. Um, because one level of the critical hit floor isn't going to do much for you. Instead of getting a 0 damage, you're going to get a 10% damage. That's probably not enough to change much of anything. You probably have to get this one realistically. Level 2, maybe you'll finish a fight 1 or 2 shots earlier, depending on how often you crit. But most likely you're going to have to get it to at least level 3, I think, before you're really going to see, like, hey, we ended this fight a round earlier because instead of having those zeros for those 5 or 6 critical hits, I still got 40% damage. So I think that's, something that might actually be more beneficial to hold off on a little bit and see if you can't push the escalation up to get more loot so you can do double pulls. And then, you know, also work on these things down here to actually upgrade your ships so you have a better time killing these hostiles. I think that's where I'm coming around to. I think these upgrading your ships, yeah, I think that's probably going to make a little bit more sense because of just how low this is and where this pays out. So Armada speed up, yeah, that's the other one. That's the S31 store. The Armada speed up one over here, yes. Armada quick start. This is a great ability in the Section 31 store. That one jumps out. Go get that one, of course. You get an excessive amount of ship parts and packs if you buy packs to level up ships. That, I mean, yes, that's very true. I don't really spend money currently, and I always try and give people advice as if they don't spend money, because if you spend money, then that's a whole different path, right? You basically buy whatever you want. You can buy extra credits to do extra favors, and then that just sort of solves even more of the problem. So there's a lot going on there for sure. A lot of options if you're spending and buying things. Yeah, like I said, you can just buy yourself a research pack and then do 5 or 6 of them, and it's less strategic or less important in terms of figuring out which one to do first because you're just going to do a bunch of them. But certainly no argument that you know it does change the dynamic for sure. You are quite welcome. Cookie, you think the loot will be more useful than the crit floor? I think it's got a possibility. Yeah, I mean the delay one is the first one you have to do. If you don't get the delay one at least to level the second level, you're dead by round 5. I'm sorry, you're dead by round 3 if you don't have it at least up to level 5. I went all the way with mine just so I could, have more options if I wanted to do different crewing types. If I wanted to use like a Pike, Cath, Talon, where I'm lowering their damage output, I'm not really getting a whole lot for myself. Um, you kind of need to go to that 5th or 6th round a lot of the times, depending on what you're killing, sometimes even to the 7th round. So having that those extra rounds to work with, to me, it made sense. And I don't think that one was overly expensive to get either. But you'd be surprised how many times you get on a crit streak and you don't mean to, and it's like, oh no, I died in round 5. Why? Because I crit 11 times. And you're just like, that's not supposed to happen. It's 22% time to happen. I shouldn't be quick. I shouldn't have 11 criticals, but that's just the way the cookie crumbled.